In business news now, the monetary policy rate has been pushed up by 1% to 16.15%. 1%, yes. The cash reserve requirements and liquidity ratio, however, left unchanged at 32.5 and 30% respectively. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank says this is the best decision to take considering prevailing economic conditions. The Apex Bank governor also revealed on the sidelines of the meeting that the newly redesigned Naira notes will be unveiled by the president of the Federal Executive Council on the 23rd of November. Lara Afolayan reports.
The Monetary Policy Committee pushed up key lending rates by 1.5% at its last meeting in September, and it has once again increased it by 1% at its just concluded meeting. The committee feels its decision at the last meeting was beginning to yield desired results as inflation is gradually beginning to moderate. It feels holding is not right at the moment, considering an expected rise in spending during the Christmas season as well as the forthcoming elections. The loosening option is not desirable too, as it will undermine gains already seen from previous monetary policy decisions, thereby leading to a more aggressive rise in inflation. It therefore chose to tighten by 1% while leaving other parameters unchanged.
CBN staff projections showed that the economy is expected to remain on a path of sustained positive growth, given the expected strong performance during the fourth quarter of 2022 and steady rebound in economic activities. Members noted with concern the persisting uptick in inflation for the 9th consecutive month, with headline inflation year-on-year rising to 21.09% in October 2022 from 20.77% in September 2022, an increase of 0.32 percentage points.
The Apex Bank says its redesigned Naira notes will be unveiled by the President at the Federal Executive Council meeting on Wednesday, and adds that the deadline to stop the usage of old currencies will not be extended.
Indeed, we are no longer waiting till December 15th to unveil and begin to release the new notes. By the special grace of God, tomorrow, which is the 23rd of November 2022, the President has graciously accepted to unveil the new currencies, and the new currencies will be unveiled tomorrow.
The perennial floods seen this year have grossly affected farmlands, with many worried it will badly impact the Anchor Borers program. The Apex Bank, however, says it will continue to support farmers through its interventions and engage them aggressively in dry season farming to cushion effects of the production shortfall. It is also hopeful grains like rice and maize in the strategic reserves will help moderate food prices. Domestic output growth remains positive, and the committee urged the monetary and fiscal authorities to continue to align efforts for the benefit of economic growth and development. Lara Afolayan, TVC News, Abuja.
Although the International Monetary Fund has faulted the central bank about the monetary policy, they maintain that the Apex Bank has been ineffective in its fight against reigning inflation. In its report tagged How Fiscal Restraint Can Help Fight Inflation, the IMF wants the central bank to reduce its monetary policy rate in order to cushion the effect of inflationary pressure on households. The IMF also wants the federal government to tighten up its fiscal policy through investments in critical sectors capable of putting the economy on a better path in the long term. The IMF noted that fiscal stimulus and current high inflation environment will force central banks to slam the brakes harder to curb inflation, despite elevated public and private sector debts. Moving on now, amidst plans by the Central Bank of Nigeria to redesign the Naira, money supply, also known as M2, has risen to an all-time high of 50.58 trillion Naira in the month of October 2022. Well, according to the statement from the Central Bank of Nigeria, the money supply, which is the total stock of money circulating in an economy, rose by 21.97% year-over-year from 41.47 trillion Naira in October 2021 to 50.58 trillion Naira in 2022. A breakdown of the money supply shows that the Kwasi money, which includes assets that are highly liquid and can easily be converted to cash, went up by 10.42% year-to-date to 29.25 trillion Naira in October 2022 compared to 26.49 trillion in January this year. Nigeria's central bank recently announced the redesigned production, release, and circulation of new series of 3 banknotes out of the 8 existing banknotes, comprising 200 naira, 500 naira, and 1,000 naira denominations, respectively, and will be effective from December 15 after its launch by President Muhammadu Buhari. The Institute of Directors Nigeria has reiterated its commitment to upskilling of directors on digitalization to enable them take full advantage of the 4th industrial revolution for their organization's sustainable growth and profitability. Addressing journalists at a media briefing ahead of the 2022 annual Directors Conference, the president of the institute, Mrs. E.J. Jadema, maintains that the 4th industrial revolution emergence, essentially driven by information technology and the global effects and challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic, necessitated the alignment of directors to digitalization. She adds that this year's conference, with the theme Corporate Governance and Digital Transformation, leading purposefully for growth and sustainability, will examine the dynamics of the evolving digital transformation and its place in corporate governance and what it means for directors.
Sustainability is not a buzzword. It's the reality. You can see the climate change. We are all witnesses of climate change. To see that, whatever you do, you have to have sustainability embedded in it. It's not just about today. And that is why boards exist. Boards look beyond the short term. The CEOs might be preoccupied with short-term targets, but the board will look beyond that. The council will look beyond that in terms of sustainability. Yes, it's feasible today. What of tomorrow? If you're endangering the environment, what are the consequences? So these are the things that we are looking at. In terms of inflation, there's nothing really you can do except to increase your productivity. We have to we are reorientating people to know that we need to take responsibility for these things ourselves, be able to put people into productive activities.
We entrench sustainability issues in governance across both the private and the public sectors of the Nigerian economy. It's a key objective that we've consciously and deliberately decided to pursue. So yes, and this is how, and there have been special initiatives that we have arranged special conferences over the last 2 years, special trainings or special discussion on sustainability issues. And a lot of literature has been developed by the IOD in conjunction with other organizations to make sustainability in the forefront of governance in the private sector and the public sector.
The stock market maintains strong gains it made on securities and prices of shares as a move upwards. Let's join Effiong Ekop for detailed reports on markets.
The stock market continues its moves on price recovery as securities values rise in key sectors. The trade upbeats push up index by 0.61% to stress gains on investments. UPD Crate, international breweries, and sovereign insurance recorded outstanding price jumped between 8 and 10%. Healthcare company Fiscal and USCN also moved their stock prices upward. Downside traders were RT Briscoe, Charms, Presco, Sunu Assurance, and Chip plc. 126 million units of shares worth 3.85 billion naira were crossed in the various market groups. Effiong Ekop TVC News, Lagos.
Crude oil prices were little changed today as global recession worries and concerns about China's rising COVID-19 cases denting the demand for world's top crude oil importers. That was actually offset by the positive impact of a retreat in the US dollar. A US West Texas intermediate crude experiences an upward price review of 0.76% to sell at $80.65 per barrel. Brent sells for $88.29, experiencing an uptick of 0.96%. Bonnie Light sells for $82.53, with a decline of 5.21%, and the OPEC basket crude oil dealers are offering $91.72, with an upward price review of 0.61%.